Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is David Kloser, and I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yes, it's got an Austrian background, so yes, it's closer, like a relief pitcher in baseball.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so
Yeah.
I learned something from you, and I'm happy that you said yes to our interview. You are a certified mental game coach. That alone is very, very interesting as the title. You work with person inside the player to help athletes overcome the need to play perfect, manage their emotions when under pressure. And this is important for everyone, I think. Manage their emotions. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, in managing your emotions, in one sense, it's interesting. Usually, when people think of managing emotions, especially on the baseball field, it's being composed and not showing emotion. And I go a little bit different in a sense of to allow emotions, but in a certain time and place. So if we don't allow the emotions, we stuff them down and there's energy that is taken to hold that emotion down, yet at the same time energy we're trying to use to perform in our sport. So we've got a split in energy, one holding down the emotion because I don't want to appear afraid or doubtful or scared or think I'm going to let my teammates down. But in the same sense, I'm portraying this emotion and energy of I want to succeed, I want to excel. So it's getting with the emotions, and it's not so much. There's times when on the baseball field or on the playing field you do need to get with the emotions, but it's also away from the field. So if we let those emotions run the course, or be with them, control them in a sense of I'm in control, I'm going to let some anger out, I'm going to let some sadness out, I'm going to have some joy out away from the playing field, then when something quote unquote bad happens, it's not a big eruption like a big bomb going off. And that's where you see, especially young athletes, they have meltdowns. It's because they haven't let out that emotion throughout the day or throughout the weeks and months, and make it part of their practice.
Yes, I understand. And when you use the word meltdown, can I imagine that all systems are shutting off or shutting up? I don't know exactly, but you are not capable of doing anything anymore.
Yeah, the feeling then supersedes and overtakes you. That's the overriding feeling, and like you said, everything else, it gets shut down. And the most prominent thing is that emotion, whatever it is, dejection, loss, sadness, anger, what have you.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned it. Meltdown, you said this, we know this as a not disease, but when you talk about autism, then those people have shutdowns, they cannot handle the situation anymore, and they are locked into their personality, so to say.
Yeah, I don't know much about the autism, but again, you can even take it to in celebration. When the celebration, the emotion, the joy of just winning the game or excelling in it becomes so overwhelming. That's the overriding thing, and that, I think, in our society is acceptable. At the end of the event, we can celebrate, we can be joyous, and then we come down from that, and that's genuinely accepted. But if there's anger or sadness or dejection or tantrums, if you will, that's not so accepted. But if that's managed in a way of we can let this out bit by bit by bit so it doesn't become a big, huge event, it's a win-win because emotions are being gotten with, they're addressed, and people are the athletes or the people are feeling them. And then during performance, they can focus on the performance. So
Yeah.
it's not stuffing the emotions down. I mean, that's why, for me, that's why I work with the person inside the player, inside the athlete, because everybody is unique and they come with their own set of circumstances of what they might be working on, what they're trying to work through or get with. So it's not so much in my coaching, it's not so much a cookie cutter approach. Like, okay, we just need to do this. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't really seem to work. So And I also think is you were a person before you ever stepped on the playing field. And so all those fears, doubts, maybe insecurities that happen in life, they also get brought onto the playing field and can affect your performance. So I address those and work with athletes on that.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Also, the process of becoming aware of our emotions, for example, and you mentioned stepping up to the plate, which is your book title, and you interviewed 300 people. It says Major League Baseball players. This is amazing. And what was the purpose? What inspired you to do this?
I was at a seminar with my wife and hearing a person talk about how they wrote a book and sold a lot of copies, and they basically interviewed people, and it just hit me. I had literally had this hot flash, warm rush run through my body, and I, nudged my wife saying, "That's it. I'm going to write a baseball book. I'm going to interview all these Major League Baseball players, coaches, managers, Hall of Fame players to get their insight on the mindset of what it takes to be successful. How do they handle adversity? Things of that nature." And then my wife kind of looked at me. She goes, "Yeah, that's great, honey. That's fantastic. But do you know any professional Major League Baseball players?" And I said, "No, but that's not going to stop me." So that was the inspiration to. It took about a year and a half to, like I said, interview all these players, coaches, managers, Hall of Famers to get their wisdom and insight, because they are at the top of their field, the cream of the crop. And so they must know some wisdom, have some wisdom that they can impart to the younger kids, younger players, of what it takes. Not only, and the nice thing about baseball is you don't have to be super tall like a basketball player, or really big like a football player, but at that level, everybody's physically, for the most part, equal in size. What separates those who make it and stay, those who excel, and across the board, it was their mindset, how they think, their mental approach. So my goal with this, my purpose was to share this with younger athletes, saying, you know what, these guys you look up to, these athletes you look up to, they were in your position. They were youngsters too, believe it or not, and they had doubts, they had fears, and so forth, and they overcame them. And here's a way to read the book and maybe get inspired by it. Like, you know what, let me try this out. Let me think about this next time I'm out, on the playing field. So, and I can't tell you how great it's been, the reception of it, from what people are saying. It's like, this is fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always fantastic to be inspired by other people in interviews. And when I think about the book that I'm sure you know as well, everyone knows Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and he interviewed 3,000 people about success and failure. And maybe it was a role model for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Again, the first thing in that title is think. How do you think? What is it you're thinking? Which then affects your emotions. How you think one way affects how you feel, and then it's going to affect your energy, your actions. So if you think you can't do something, was it Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or cannot, you're right.
Yes.
And your energy and actions moving forward, if I don't think I am, you don't think your energy is going to be, hey, let's go, yeah, let's give it my best. It's like, well, it's probably not going to work out. So that's a key component, is that mindset of just really, and I enjoy it because working with young athletes from age 14 through professional, like 24 and above, baseball players, golfers. I mean, even work with actors and performers. But that mindset really carries with you in any field, any profession that you do, in life, even in relationships and family life. So that's to me, that's the key important ingredient first and foremost. Then whether you're in a business, you're in relationships, you have family, you're in sports, it's like, how do I think about those things? And that's going to dictate how I'm going to move forward, my next steps, and the
Yes.
energy with which I put out.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much for
Mm-hmm.
sharing. And we talked about Napoleon Hill now, and as as an inspiring person as well. And who else is inspiring you?
Who's inspiring me? Well, my wife does. She's fantastic. Um, Brings out the best in me. I just think it's not anyone in particular, but just the people. People who have passion. People who want to, that they have a unique story. There's something about them that it's like, wow, that's fantastic. And it used to be when I was younger, I would talk to somebody who was further along than me, and I would be jealous. I would be envious. And it switched to where it's like, what if I were to admire that person and like, what are they doing that's being successful? What if I follow that trait instead of being resistant and thinking, well, they got lucky or they knew somebody or making up excuses? So it's those type of people inspire me. Those who are willing to put themselves out there, have passion. Yeah, just and they're creative. How they work, the different ways the way their mind works to be creative, to be successful, and however that success is defined to them. So yeah,
Yeah. Wow, I love that. I love I love that when, yeah, when we are inspired by so many things and not like, yeah, it's easy to name people, famous people, but yeah, to see it in everyday life and be inspired by so many things. This is an art, I think, as well. So my next question is, how do you inspire other people?
how do I inspire other people? I think just sharing my story. Um, it's my being present. Being attentive, being having presence and being present. Being a good listener, asking like you're doing. You're asking really intriguing questions, which is like it gets the brain, the gears turning in the brain. It's like, wow, okay. Like, for example, in my book, I would ask these questions, and the players would say, that's a great question. Nobody's asked me that before. So it's like we're on the same team, we're collaborating. It's like, you know, so just intrigue, mystery in a good way of you know, collaboration. That I feel that's inspiring to me. And if I feel that, I feel it resonates within other people. It's like they just want to, and I'm the genuine curiosity, like with you. It's like, well, what inspires you? So it's like, well, Caroline's interested, so she's just not throwing a question out there just to ask a question. It's like you're genuinely interested. So it's like, wow, okay, let me put some really good thought into this. Let me think about it. So just yeah, curiosity, creativity, sincerity, genuineness, that inspires me. That's what I feel like I try to bring out in other people too.
Yeah, you do. It feels like igniting the others with your light, with your
Yeah.
fire inside, your desire, your burning desire for the one topic. Your Yeah, and this leads me to my next question. What are your gifts and talents?
I think the same thing is very similar to being present, being a good listener, asking deeper questions. You know, yeah, holding space. Just like I get where you're coming from. I mean, and sometimes I've been in circles with my wife. She helps with women's groups and just holding presence of just allowing for the energy, allowing for the emotion instead of trying to fix. Oh, that's okay. Don't cry. It's like to me that's the worst thing is just let the emotions flow. There's a reason for it. And so one of my talents is to be able to hold that space and just be present, that it's okay. There's no judgment. There's an allowance. And that's what I'm finding within myself too. The more I allow in others, the more I'm finding that within myself that I can allow more. And another thing I think that one of my gifts and talents are is again being creative, thinking outside the box. That's right. Like within coaching, it's not a cookie cutter type approach. It's just like, what's unique about you? How can I help and serve you? Um, yeah, and then the other part would be my sense of humor. I've got a kind of a quirky sense of humor. So my daughter would say I have typical dad humor. So
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Oh,
yeah,
thank you so much for sharing. And I thought when you talked about judgment, not judging the other person, mm, I always ask myself if we is it only related to when we talk negative about other people? When we say something positive, like we express appreciation or what someone did very good, it isn't it a judgment as well?
I guess it seems like judgment does have that negative connotation, the feeling
Mhm,
to it. You're being so judgmental, like it's a negative thing. But perhaps the positive side of judgment would be discernment.
mhm.
Should I eat this piece of cake or should I not? That's a judgment. But if the judgment is, well, because it's not right, I shouldn't, or any of that. But um, I think, yeah, it's knowing yourself too. It's being present with yourself and knowing what's yeah, that's a very good question.
It helps us make a decision maybe
Yeah.
when you ask the question about the cake or what it was. It helps judgment, like I like this, I don't like this. So we have the answer how to decide.
And I think within that too, it's a process. Like in a baseball game, we all want to do well, but sometimes we don't. Comes down to choices. So with a judgment of the choice, but it's also, what did I learn from that? What did I learn from that game when we lost or I didn't play so well? What did I learn about when I had that piece of cake? Did it really make me feel good? Maybe it made me feel good in that moment, but so maybe the next time that happens, if I can remember and have discernment or perhaps judgment, like, well, maybe I won't, or maybe I won't have as big a piece, or maybe I'll have, whatever. I can make a different choice because I'm aware, and you touched upon that too. I'm aware of um, what I'm putting into my body, whether it's thoughts I'm putting into my body or actual food. It all comes into our consciousness, whether it's through our thoughts or our mouth, and it does have an effect. So, but being aware of that and then aware of our choices.
I have
I'm going to
to
choose to have that piece of cake.
I you when you spoke, it was so interesting about the choice what to put into your body, and I have to ask this question because when you say I get to choose which thoughts I put into my body, that means the thoughts are not mine, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been said that every thought I've heard somewhere, every thought that we've ever had is out there, and
Mhm.
we're like a radio station. So it's, what station are we tuning into? Are we tuning into the negative station, the self-judgment station, the critical station, or the station of joy and possibility and connection? So I go again with my coaching, it's a lot of energy. And I say to people, it's like, what do you mean energy? It's like, well, when you go to a game, there's momentum. You can feel the shift of the game changing. You can't touch it, but you can feel it, you can sense it. So that's energy. So, the same thing I think with thoughts, there's energy behind them. So it's out there. You walk into a room, it's like you can sense, this is, hey, I want to be here. It's a good vibe. It's a good feeling. Or it's like, it's not happening. It's dull, or maybe I just don't feel right here. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It doesn't feel right. So, but yeah, I think, yeah, the thoughts are that's a good perspective. Is, really, some of our thoughts really aren't our own. We just tap into other a frequency or vibration.
Thank you so much. And what you said about the room, when you enter a room, you are specialized on games. I'm not so much, I don't have the image of the game, but the room. And I immediately thought, and I want to share it with you, when you enter a room and you feel the energy, you feel the state the game is in. You feel which moment of the game I enter now. Is it a good moment? Is it a game changer? Does the game change when I enter the room? This is a question. Wow, we can do so much with this picture alone.
And it's interesting too, is how resourced is the individual when they step into the room? Can they change the energy of the room? Whether if the energy is dull, whatever, and somebody comes in. I mean, like you see celebrities or politicians, whatever, all of a sudden some people don't, and again, in acting, And people say they just walk into the room and the room changes
Yes.
for good or for bad. They could suck the energy out or they could really lift it up. So it's just how, and that's again, being aware, how can I tune myself into be at that highest vibration to where I don't have to say or do anything. I just am, because I'm just radiating or resonating like a pebble in a pond, just rippling out this type of energy. And if it's again, a choice, if it's an energy that I'm not happy with, I don't like, if I'm aware, I can change that. I can start to shift that, and if it's good, it's like, okay, I want to keep enhancing that. And this, it goes along with sports. It's like if things aren't going well, instead of saying, oh, well, we're going to lose, what's the use? It's like, wait a minute, I recognize things aren't going the way I want them to. Let me make a different choice internally and make that shift and start the process of shifting it. Because we all have the power within us. It's not, it's not the environment in a sense, but we can shift that.
Yes, we have a choice. And when you talked about the change of the energy, I thought about the game situation. And you can do this, or I think you utilize it when you are in the game, when you, for example, when players are changing, a new player comes on the field. And I thought about this famous boxing game where it was Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali who declared himself as the winner before the game began. You remember this?
Yes, I've heard that said too, because he used to say, Muhammad Ali would say, I am the greatest. I mean, they made a movie, I am the greatest. And somebody asked him, I said, well, what makes you the greatest? Why are you the greatest? And he said, because I say so. I tell myself that. So again, it's that choice. You don't have to, when people can or they cannot, again, it's a choice, but to announce, I am the greatest, I'm the best at this, I'm the best at that. Or you can say it internally. Athletes say this a lot of times. They would say, I've got to make myself believe that I am the best player out there. I'm, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, those types of players. And even if you're playing against them, it's like, no, I'm the best player. I've got to convince me. So again, that's an inner work mindset to shift that. And they may not be as good as Michael Jordan, but if it elevates their game, they've already improved.
Yes.
So it's amazing how powerful the mind can be, and how especially if it works for you, because it's working all the time. It's like what I call like a washing machine. You put dirty clothes in. If you don't put the soap in, it's still going to be dirty clothes, but the machine is always running.
Yes.
So whatever you're going to put into it is going to come back out. But again, like food, you put junk in, probably junk's going to come out. You're not going to feel good. You put good things in, good thoughts in, good feelings in, surround yourself in good things, good energy. Most likely your energy is going to be up and vibrate and resonate with that as well. But it all comes down to choice, and that's the empowering choice about it. The thing about it is that what appears to be on the outside looking like, it doesn't look so good, we're going to lose the game, or it's not going to turn out well. It's, I can make a choice to make a difference to, let me up level my game. It might not change the total outcome, but if I can start, then maybe somebody else will feel that and they'll start. So there's one, now there's two, there's four. It starts to have that, compounding effect. So.
Wow, I love what you said. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I have to re-listen to this episode because there were so many nuggets in it. Thank you so much. I have one last question for you. And it is, when people reach out to you, and I'm sure they will after listening to this episode, do you have a special offer or service you want to provide for the Inspired Podcast community?
I do, yes. I have, you can go to my website, which is davidkloser.com. It's DAVIDKLOSER.com. And if you would like to schedule a 20-minute consultation, a free coaching consultation, you can do that. And I also have an introductory offer for mindset sessions. So yeah, I'd say the best would be to just schedule a call, 20-minute free consultation, and find out what's going on. If you're a parent, if your young athlete is struggling, needs some support. And the nice thing about this too, it ripples off. It's not just specifically for the playing field. It can help with school and friends and relationships and family and things like that. I mean, I could go on forever, Caroline, so I know we only have limited time, but that I would say, contact me on my website, davidkloser.com.
Oh, thank you so much. I put it in the show notes, and please
Awesome.
reach out to David. He's amazing. He helps you to elevate all areas of your life, working with your mind. And I love the analogy of the washing machine. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. This has been
and
great.
see you in the next episode.